Solidarity. Standing on the existing and already established protocol, I will continue from here. Power and oil and gas. Comrades, the energy sector, power and oil and gas remain the weakest link in our national development, weighed down by policy contradictions and vested interests. No nation can develop without getting its energy right. Yet in Nigeria, decisions have turned what should be catalyst for growth to source of hardship. In the electricity sector, over a decade after privatization, Nigerians have little or nothing to show but deepening darkness. Generation has stubbornly remained between 4,000 and 5,000 megawatts, often dropping even lower, with repeated grid collapses that plunge the nation into blackout. What was promised as reform has become a burden, as consumers are forced to pay higher tariffs for reliable supply. The introduction of bank classifications has only worsened equality, with citizens paying more without commensurate services. It is unacceptable that in just the past 3 years, over 10 trillion naira of public funds has been transferred into a sector whose assets were sold for about 4 billion naira, yet without delivering stable electricity. This raises serious questions of accountability and direction. We must therefore insist on a fundamental reset, one that recognizes electricity as a social service, not merely a profit-driven commodity. The current model has failed, and it's time to return the sector to a people-centered framework driven by public investment, strong regulation, and a clear roadmap for affordable and reliable power. A genuine national stakeholders summit is urgently needed. In oil and gas downstream sector, recent global development have once again exposed our vulnerability. The Iran-US-Israel tension triggered a 39% increase in pump price by domestic refineries, the highest globally, further worsening transportation costs and deepening hardship for Nigerians. This is despite the fact that Nigeria remains one of the world's largest crude exporters, currently producing about 1.8 million barrels of crude per day, with the additional gains of about $50 per barrel, translating to roughly 90 million daily above budgetary benchmark. Over approximately 60 days, revenue resources that, if properly managed, could have cushioned the impact on citizens. The contradictions is stark. A major oil-producing nation that cannot shield its people from fuel shock, are over-reliant on a few private operators, have created a near monopoly that exposes the economy to volatility and exploitation. Meanwhile, public refineries remain non-operational and underutilized, denying the nation the strategic buffer it desperately needs. We must act decisively to revive domestic refining capacity, ensure fair access to crude for local processors, and break the stronghold of monopolistic tendencies. We must not feed tigers that are not meaningful, devious, or false. Casualization and assault on workers' rights. The growing trend of casualization in the labor market is deeply troubling. Too many Nigerian workers are deployed without job security, fair wages, or basic protection. This must end. We call on Ministry of Labor and all relevant institutions to enforce labor laws and protect the dignity of Nigerian workers. Credible elections and electoral reform. Democracy must work for the people, not against them. The foundation of any just society is credible electoral system. We cannot continue to build a nation on a disputed mandate and weakened institution. We demand comprehensive electoral reform that guarantees transparency, accountability, and sanctity of people's votes. This will of Nigerian workers and citizens must count and must be seen to count. Anything less is betrayal of democracy. Democracy, welfare, and economic justice are not negotiable. The plight of pensioners and national shame. Your Excellencies, our invited guests and comrades, How a nation treats its elderly citizens is a true test of humanity. Today, our pensioners, men and women who devoted their productive years to national service are abandoned, unpaid, and left to suffer in silence. This is unacceptable. It is just. It is a national disgrace. We demand the immediate clearance of pension arrears, a sustainable pension system, and guaranteed timely payment. No retiree in Nigeria should be condemned to poverty after a lifetime of service. Rising costs of manufacturing. The crisis in manufacturing sector is deepening, and the consequence is being pushed directly onto masses. High energy costs, multiple taxation, unstable exchange rate, and poor infrastructure have made production increasingly expensive. The manufacturers struggle to survive as they are forced to transfer these costs to consumers, leading to skyrocketing price of basic goods. We insist on urgent government intervention to reduce the cost of production, support local industries, and protect jobs and consumers. An economy that crushes producers and punishes consumers cannot stand. Transportation crisis and inadequate CNG alternatives. The cost of transportation has become unbearable. Workers now spend a significant portion of their income just to get to work. Airfare has risen beyond the reach of ordinary Nigerians, further restricting movement and economic activity. While the introduction of CNG alternatives was presented as a solution, the reality is clear. The infrastructure is grossly inadequate, inaccessible, and insufficient to meet public demand. We demand immediate expansion of CNG facilities, investment in affordable mass transit, policies that reduce transportation costs, and country mobility is not a luxury, it is necessity for economic survival. Education and relief for students, securing the future. The future of this nation lies in the hand of our students. Yes, the future is under threat. Rising tuition fee, poor learning conditions, inadequate funding, and limited access to support systems are pushing quality education beyond the reach of ordinary Nigerians. We demand immediate relief measure for students, increase funding for education policies, and guarantee access to affordable quality learning at all levels. Education must not become a privilege for few. It is the right for all. International arena. Comrades, we must be mindful of events outside our shores which are capable of impacting our lives as workers. This year's international working class faces the international working class faces an unprecedented assault for resurgent and aggressive neoliberalism. Our world, as we used to know, it has changed. Order has been replaced by might, while multilateralism has been a backburner as various institutions created to manage international relations have become obsolete. The Middle East. In the first quarter of 2026, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated military offensive against Iran without recourse to the United Nations. We consider this not in keeping with international practice, as the Strait of Hormuz is blocked and bombs level oil facilities. Global fuel prices are skyrocketing once again. Nigerian workers are paying at the pump for war we did not start. Eastern Europe. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has now entered its fourth year, with devastating consequences for lives, infrastructures, and global stability. Beyond the battlefield, the war has disrupted food supplies and fertilizer distribution significantly, affecting agricultural production across Africa and contributing to rising hunger and inflation. Solidarity with Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. We stand in solidarity with the people of SADRO in their long and legitimate struggle for self-determination and independence. Their quest reflects the enduring fight against occupation and the universal demand for freedom, dignity, and justice. Latin America. In a shocking return to a gunboat diplomacy, the United States military captured President Nicolas Maduro and installed a U.S.-friendly regime. With Venezuela stolen, the U.S. has continued to tighten the blockade against Cuba, engineering a humanitarian crisis. We demand an end to the U.S. embargo on Cuba now. This is a common denominator to the bomb falling on Tehran, the missiles in Ukraine, the blockage of Cuba, and the incident of Caracas neoliberalism. It is now overstretched and decaying. it cannot fix the hole in its fiscal balance sheet. So, it resorts to unorthodox method. We in the Nigeria trade union movement have no nation to save, to save us but ourselves. Just as we fight to the full implementation of the national minimum wage, we must align ourselves with the global working class against the warmongers. Nigeria must reposition itself in the changing global order. And also, it suffices us on the issue of civil servants. We commend the federal government for finally listening to our demand to restore the illegally withheld gratuity payment for federal civil servants. However, what the government has offered is an intent and benchmark for a negotiated outcome. As such issues are not unilateral, we therefore call upon the government to open discussion with the necessary framework to agree to details for effective implementation. Once again, we call on federal government and other level of government to stop the discriminatory age of retirement in civil service. It will be appropriate to have a uniform retirement age of 65 years and 35 years in service within the civil service. Do not gut the research institute of our professional skills by forcing their head and professors to retire at 60. This is not helpful to our nation and development. And it also suffices me to say that there are some states where there are total affronts and there are imposition of leaders. In some states where the trade centers will go ahead to elect officers who should represent them, but some state government and some employer of labor we chose to impose some individuals on the trade union. A state like Lagos, for example, is one that we are currently examining. In Lagos, for example, an election was done into TUC in accordance with our constitution. But some operators in Lagos chose to work with an imposter who is not a member of TUC, who is not a worker, who does not represent the interest of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. We have had a lot of dialogue, but they choose to be adamant. Moving forward, we are going to visit them with a very strong and decisive action. Also, in Edo, we've had reports that in NLC, that the government of Edo are also working with someone that was not elected by NLC. It is our business to send representative to the state council. It is our business at the national to send representative to them. And whoever we send to them are people they should work with. They have no right to determine who will lead our Congress in the respective state councils. For us, we are going to come together and we will attend to these issues as strongly as possible, because enough is enough. Conclusion. Okay. No, I can announce it now if you want. So, finally, comrades, it is with great pride that we announce that the sacrifice of Nigerian workers have received global recognition. The 2026 Atos Fencing International Prize for Trade Union Heroes have been awarded to the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajero. Solidarity in honor of his courage and steadfast leadership in the face of intimidation and adversity. He will receive this award in Oslo, Norway, on the 10th of June 2026. All comrades are invited to celebrate with our dear President of NLC. In conclusion, a call for action. As we mark this year's day, let our message be clear. We will not accept a future defined by poverty. We will not accept policies that deepen suffering. We will not accept a system that exploits the many of the benefit of the few. We stand for justice. We stand for dignity. We stand for Nigerian workers. We stand for the masses and the downtrodden. Together in unity, the solidarity, we will continue the struggle until fairness, equity, and dignity becomes the reality for all. Long live Nigerian workers. Long live the Nigerian Labour Congress. Long live the Trade Union Congress. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There is victory.